On this day in 1994, the gates at Omaha's Peony Park closed for good. The space actually started as a gas station and restaurant back in 1919 across from a peony farm.
And later, a massive pavilion would pop up, hosting many concerts over the ensuing decades. Amusement rides also became a mainstay. After a couple of incidents involving segregation and deadly ride accidents, the writing was on the wall. Attendance was dropping off and the owners declared bankruptcy. A private redevelopment group bought the space and then razed the park to the ground.